right, send it in.
Well, how about that, Panther Nation? Welcome to episode 9 of the Puckett Send It In podcast. We are coming off Florida's 3-0 shutout over the New York Rangers in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. I'm Jay Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Alex Krutchik. And Alex, we literally just talked about this right before we started recording, but a lot of stuff happened in a game that was 1-0 for the majority of action. It was high thriller. It was high octane, but ultimately the Panthers got the breaks they needed, and they took down the Rangers in the Garden.
Yeah, it's great. I love going into the most overrated arena.
Yes.
To play one of the supposed best teams in the league, and I'm sure they are, from what I've heard, I guess. But the Panthers made them look so pedestrian, especially on offense. The Panthers defense just bottlenecked them. And like you said, for the first 50 minutes of the game, not a whole lot. Then the last 10 minutes, everything happened all at once. We'll talk more about specifics and all that. But, I mean, good Lord, it really felt for a moment like the Rangers might get back in it. Maybe the Panthers were just doing it for the flair of the dramatic, but then they shut the door right back on the Rangers.
So, to clarify, our last episode of the pod was right after Florida took a 3-1 series against Boston. Obviously, the Bruins won Game 5, but Florida shut them down in Game 6. Just to quickly recap that series, because, again, very pretty important series for the sake of Florida being where they are now, taking care of business against Boston. I never felt like after they were up 3-1 that they ever had a shot at dropping that series to the Bruins. Game 5 was a little disappointing energy-wise for Florida against the Bruins, but Game 6 they played a solid game of hockey and they just out-Bostoned the Boston Bruins, and they just turned out to be the physical, and what can you say? The better team.
Yeah. Against Boston, the only time that I really felt bad was when the Panthers were beating themselves, which made me feel better because I know this is a very well-coached team with a lot of great leadership in that dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew if the problem is just simply that the Panthers are beating themselves, I know that that's an issue that's going to get resolved. And that's what I saw. Game 1, the Panthers lost that game because they kept making mistakes. I don't think Boston was doing anything particularly well. And then Game 6, I don't think they were making as egregious mistakes, but it was still Game 5, I don't think they were making as egregious mistakes, but it was still things that I felt like it was more about the way the Panthers were playing as opposed to the way the Bruins were playing.
Shout out Daniel.
What's up, Daniel? I'm feeling fantastic, Daniel. I love when any of my teams go into the Garden and put those people in their place.
Yeah.
The greatest arena in the world sounded like a library tonight.
Exactly.
Good Lord. Like, what happened? Go New York, go New York, go. Like, what happened to all of that? Greatest city in the world, greatest fans in the world. It sounded like a library.
Especially because they kept advertising that before, like during the ESPN pregame, they kept saying, one of the greatest arenas of hockey. Like, listen, as far as a violent, dangerous crowd that opposing teams have to go through, I feel like Boston in the TD Garden was and is way more difficult to come out and succeed than the Madison Square Garden. At least that's what it felt like. That's what it has felt like, especially after tonight.
That's the great thing about playing Boston first is you play like actual hostile fans that you have to deal with, as opposed to now where you just got a bunch of suits that sit in the lower level and just give a little golf clap when things go well. Yeah, the Panthers dealt with like some real stuff in the second round against those Boston fans.
I know. So, Gus, let's go Ice Cats. Yes, sir. So let's talk a bit about this game. Maybe this is a hot take, Alex, but The way Florida played this game tonight in general reminded me almost to a T how they looked in game 1 against Tampa Bay back in the first round of the playoffs. They were not overly overly ambitious. They were defensive oriented, but more than all, they were very thorough and they were very careful not to give up the silly penalties throughout that game. And I know they had to feel that way because of New York's first place power play in the postseason thus far. So, with all that said, I really had similar vibes to Game 1 against Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs, for how Florida tackled this Rangers team and their style.
Yeah, and similar to that game against Tampa. Remember, like, I forget what the exact number was, but it was like the first 15 minutes or something against Tampa.
Yes.
They didn't get a shot on goal. The Lightning. Same thing here, except instead of in the first period, or rather instead of the first period, it was the second period. The Rangers had a shot on goal about 2 minutes into that period, and then for the next 15-ish minutes, they couldn't get anything on net.
I know.
I mean, just nothing. The Panthers' defense just bottlenecked them. The Rangers had 5 shots on goal in the first, 7 in the second. And other than, ironically, it wasn't even a shot on goal technically, the Braden Schneider breakaway in the first period, that he got past Bobrovsky, but it clinked off of the crossbar. Or I guess it was off the post.
Off the post, yeah.
That was their best scoring chance in the first and second period. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Really.
Funny enough, I didn't even hear the click sound when that went off the post initially. When they showed the replay, that's when it became really noticeable. But so Florida gets their lone goal of the first period with only minutes to go. It was none other than Matthew Tkachuk with a they originally said wrister, now it's labeled as a snapshot, with a little under 4 minutes to go. And we know Matthew Tkachuk was kind of on a cold streak as far as goal scoring, and so in this postseason up to this point, it's really nice to see Tkachuk do what Tkachuk tends to do best, and that is excel in the playoffs. And he did that in a very nice fashion, scoring that goal that held that as it turned out was enough against this New York team, as it would turn out.
Yeah, he got himself into the game early on when he just leveled Vincent Trocheck trying to come out of the Rangers' defensive zone, just knocked him to the ground. Listen, I still love Vincent Trocheck. I
love him. He was one of my dad's favorite Panthers. So
I wish it wasn't him. But it was.
I wish it was like Marchand again.
Or Trouba. Look, nothing against Trouba as a human being, but as a player, he needs to get humbled a little bit. I wish it was him, but it was Trocheck. It was awesome, regardless of who it was. Tkachuk was playing great on the forecheck all game, especially in that first period. And then he finally gets on the score sheet with that snipe shot from the top of the circle. Yeah, it was a fantastic game from him.
Yeah. So you had mentioned it earlier. Florida, we saw some of the best overall defense by Florida in the first and second periods. There were only a few breakaway opportunities for the Rangers against Bobrovsky, and they didn't cash in once. Aside from that, the second period went by very, 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 very quickly. This was a barn burner of a game as far as overall speed. Reminds me of modern day baseball with the pitch clock. How these games just kind of they just fly by these days. The only real thing to note in the second period, from what I saw, was the penalty given up by Sam Bennett, holding the stick with like a minute 30 or so to go. Which obviously, I don't know about you, but I had that oh god, that penalty, that power play unit that we've heard nonstop about. We're finally going to see what they can deliver, and you know what? I was not very impressed today with what I saw with New York's power play. Florida's penalty kill was obviously far superior to New York's power play, at least for today. Yeah.
Florida was fantastic. I'm trying to pull the stats right now, but the Panthers and Rangers, from what I can remember, both have top 3 penalty kills this regular season.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird things where I almost the special teams is going to be important, and it's also not going to be important because they're both just so good that I think that instead it will be dictated by 5-on-5, which it was. Neither team, correct me if I'm wrong here, neither team scored on the power play rather.
No, nothing today. And looking more at the statistics while we have a minute, Florida led the overall shots with 27-23. They also delivered more hits, 29-28. They won more faceoffs, 31-29. They had more power play opportunities with 3-2. However, neither team, as you said, cashed in. They blocked 19 shots compared to New York's 18. And I think the biggest difference, because these are all very even stats across the board, but the biggest difference and goes into what I said at the top of how this was a very similar feeling to game 1 against Tampa. The Panthers only had 2 giveaways. The Rangers had 12. Florida was so good picking New York's pockets and also capitalizing off of silly passes and other silly mistakes by the Rangers that just sort of carried them throughout the entirety of the game. It killed a bunch of clock in the third period, and it was probably the biggest reason how they secured this W. They literally gave New York next to no opportunities to get back into this game because they were just playing their style of hockey, and it worked.
Yeah, neither team had a whole lot of zone time. It was a lot of rushes back and forth, and we'll talk more about the Rangers defense. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the Panthers played great on the forecheck. They played great in the neutral zone. And then whenever the Rangers did set something up in the offensive zone, the Panthers defense did good on making sure that it didn't last long. I do want to give a quick correction. So the penalty kill stats that I just cited are from the postseason. So the Rangers have the second best penalty kill in the postseason, 89%.
Where did Boston rank in penalty kill?
4th, actually. So it's Rangers, Panthers, Bruins, 2, 3, 4.
Who's number 1?
In the regular season, number 1 is Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
Who are still in the hunt. They're playing Dallas in the conference final.
Talk a bit about that later, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, in the regular season, the Rangers were 3rd on the penalty kill. Panthers were 6th. So either way, splitting hairs, they're both terrific on the penalty kill. And it showed tonight. Let's see. Rangers went 0 for 2 on the power play. Panthers went 0 for 3. And none of those power plays were necessarily great, especially the Panthers. The Panthers couldn't get anything on the power play.
They unfortunately, I had flashbacks to last year's postseason power plays, which definitely, I didn't like to see. But it's a tough blow because we have seen Florida's power play do great things in the regular season. Of course, you had Sam Reinhart, who led the NHL in power play goals in the regular season. But the fact of the matter is he's kind of, as the announcers alluded to it, he's gone stagnant here in the postseason. He only has 1. I can't remember when he got that sole power play goal. It was probably against Boston. But aside from that, Florida's power play needs to be worked on because we can't have a scenario where we get this far and the power play lets us down the Stanley Cup final. It's too early to say the SCF term, but Florida's power play goal definitely a concern. An otherwise good group is not cashing in on their opportunities, and they had 3 tonight. So let's get into the third period, and let's start because the third period was absolutely insane. The third period felt longer than the first and second periods combined. It felt that way. Let's talk a bit about the goal that was taken off the board. I believe it was who scored that goal in the third period that it was taken away.
It would have been Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Okay, Ekman-Larsson. However, who was it? It was Longberg He was in the goalie zone.
Yeah,
Eventually, a
Ryan
Rangers
Lumberg.
player came by and pushed him, but since he was already in the zone for a few seconds, New York challenged it. That's literally what the referee said, that he was in the zone before he was pushed, so it's a no. So it's goaltender interference technically, and it's a no goal. So at first, I didn't like the call. We talked about it, Alex, but after looking at the replay, I will say I think it was the correct call from the refs.
Yeah, I don't know if we've gotten an official explanation from the NHL on it yet. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Sorry, that's pretty much what happened. Ryan Lomberg did get pushed into the goaltender by Lindgren of New York, but Lomberg was already in the crease firmly, all up in Igor Shesterkin's grill. He wasn't touching him yet, but he was definitely in his way in the crease, and then he got pushed into Igor. Lomberg did. So I'm guessing that's why they called it, because Lomberg was already there and it was clear that he was going to interfere with him at some point, even if he wasn't pushed in. So the goal got taken off. And then quickly after that, correct me if I'm wrong, the too many men on the ice for the Panthers.
That's what we wanted to talk about next, because
that came after the goal was taken off, correct?
That was, I'm trying to see the timeline of events here. Shoot. So the too many men ice was served with 6 minutes and 49 seconds to go in the game. So let me quickly do a reverse thing here and see at one point that goal was I can check Florida's Twitter or X account, whatever the hell you want to call it, and see when this was. Oh well, that's not helping. But regardless, it was
16 in the third.
Say it again.
11-16 in the third.
Okay, so it was not. It was minutes at the most. Minutes at the most after that goal was taken off the board. Now, Paul was pissed. We've seen Paul pissed a few times this postseason, some of which are funny, some of which are, we're just as pissed as he is. But they showed the replay, and again, I don't think they showed enough. They only showed like one camera, and it wasn't even a good look at Florida's bench. I did not see what the referees were talking about with the too many men on the ice call. Did you see anything different, Alex?
Yeah, I saw that. I understood where they were coming from. I saw the 6 guys on the ice from the replay that ESPN showed. What about you?
I did not. Listen, I only saw that one camera angle, and it did you couldn't clearly see what was going on at Florida's bench at the time of the call. But regardless, it gave the Rangers 2 more minutes to, again, their signature, their scary power play. And once again, it was, they had a few good looks, but beyond that, not a whole lot happened. A couple clears from the Panthers, and eventually time was winding down. So Florida gets a goal taken off the board. With 4 minutes to go, the hockey gods bestow upon the Florida Panthers probably the greatest gift they've been delivered in this postseason, as a shot from Verhaeghe is it catches the stick of a Rangers player and goes 5-hole in between Shesterkin's legs. And
so it was
the Panthers get a god goal, an own goal, basically.
So it was Carter Verhaeghe was at the bottom of one of the face-off circles. He might have even been between the end of the circle and then the goal line, but he was pretty low on the ice. And he was either shooting towards the net or making a cross-ice pass. But either way, it was Alexis Lafreniere, some French-Canadian name. Lafreniere gets in the way of it to block the pass or the shot, and the puck deflects in the wrong direction or the right direction, depends who you're asking, And then, goes 5-hole through Igor Shesterkin's legs. Own goal. Haven't seen that in a while. Certainly haven't seen it in the last 10 minutes of a playoff hockey game.
So what exactly was he trying to do there? Was he just trying to softly tap it to Shesterkin so he could cover it, and he put too much sauce on it, or Shesterkin just didn't catch it in time?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what he says tonight to the media, or maybe tomorrow during practice.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different possibilities. He might have been trying to deflect it over the net, which we've seen before. He might have been trying to deflect it to the left or to the right of the net. He could have been trying to just catch the puck with his stick. Or it's possible, and I think this is the least likely one, just because Alexis Lafreniere is a very good hockey player, and he knows what he's doing. So this is the least likely possibility, but it is a possibility that he just saw the puck in a very dangerous part of the ice and just thought, I'm going to put my stick on it. And I'm not going to think about where the puck goes after that.
You put your stick on it and hope for the best. Just let Jesus take the wheel after that. So own goals are not, I guess they're just not tracked in hockey. So Verhaeghe's credited with the goal. They're sort of tracked in hockey. Yeah. Verhaeghe gets the goal because he's the last one. But if you go on the NHL website, it still shows the distinction, because if it's a power play goal, there will be red letters next to the name, and it'll say PP, or if it's shorthanded, it'll be SH. Here you have the OWN, OWN, next to Carter Verhaeghe's name. It's interesting. I'm looking at ESPN's play-by-play thing, and it just says Carter Verhaeghe goal, his 7th of the postseason, unassisted. So
it was assisted, all right. Carter Verhaeghe should get the assist. Alexis Lafreniere should get -1 goals.
So shout out Lafreniere for unintentionally being the MVP of the night. That's a heartbreaker. If you're a New York fan when that happens, you were thinking, all right, there's 4 minutes to go. New York is a very good team when trailing by 1.
They were starting to buzz. They were starting to buzz a little bit.
They were starting to get hyped. Florida was starting to make a silly mistake, like you said, with that too many men on the ice penalty. New York has been such a good team this postseason when trailing by a single goal. They're a really good comeback team, so you're getting hyped. You're thinking, all right, they're going to pull something out of their ass and steal this game. And then all of a sudden the game was essentially over because of Ferniere's tip-in, technically. So anyway, after that, they take their goalie out not long after, but it's ultimately all for naught because Sam Bennett gets a wrister, assisted by Tkachuk, by the way. So 2 points for Tkachuk. I believe 2 or even 3. I think he got an assist on the first goal, so that could be a 3-point night for Tkachuk. And voila, it's a 3-0 win for the Panthers. As they did what they had to do, right? What you always have to do in the postseason. You have when you go on the road for 2 games, you have to take at least 1. And Florida, God bless Florida, they're so good at playing on the road in the postseason that at first I was so confused that Florida was favored to win this game. Then it hit me that, oh man, did Florida even lose a road game against Boston? They lost game 3 in Tampa. But I think in Boston, they were freaking perfect on the road. So, wow. What a way to start this series. Obviously, I don't think it went any way that anyone thought this game was going to go. That such an amazing offense that New York has was going to be shut out by Sergei Bobrovsky and the boys. But they get it done. And like I said, they did their job. They had to go to the Madison Square Garden, take a game. They did that. Now they have an opportunity to sweep in the Garden heading back to Sunrise, which would be unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah. And just to do a little bit of housekeeping, I do want to give the Rangers some credit. I don't want to, but I will. They held the Panthers they held up the Panthers on offense as well.
They did.
Panthers only got 9 shots on goal each period, and that's a team that gets a lot of pucks on net.
A lot.
They were towards the top of the league all year in shots on goal, the Panthers were. And And then according to Natural Stat Trick, my favorite website, Panthers and Rangers were pretty much even in the scoring chances. We were talking all night about how the Panthers kept the Rangers to not a whole lot of scoring chances. The Rangers had 18 of those. Panthers only had 23. Panthers only had 8 high danger scoring chances. Rangers only had 7. So both teams were equally stifled by the other team's defenses. No shame in that. Both teams' defenses are very good. Both goaltenders are very good. Igor Shesterkin looked very good tonight. But, that's the way it's going to look. Sometimes Paul Maurice coaches some boring hockey, but that's how you win sometimes. Because, by the way, it was a little bit of a boring game. I'll never complain. I'll never complain with the Panthers playoff win, but it was boring. But
I want to see some fighting. I want to see 16 goals scored in one game. No, I get what you're saying, Alex. Shout out Ray. Good defensive play and physical hockey by the Florida Panthers. 2 good teams that will make it a long series. I agree.
Yep. Especially because when you think about it, Jake, it was really a 1-0 game, and it would have continued to be a 1-0 game if Lafreniere didn't make that mistake. And the only reason it became a 3-0 game is because now the Rangers are scrambling and they got to pull their goalie, and that third goal was an empty net goal. It was really a 1-0 game the whole way through. So I'm very interested to see how the Panthers and the Rangers offenses adjust to game 2.
I don't want to diss anyone tonight, but looking over the replay of that Frenier own goal, can we please get some announcers that actually give a damn about the Florida Panthers?
Yeah.
The announcers tonight were so pro Rangers, it hurt. It actually hurt. I miss Steve and I miss Randy so freaking much.
Well, what you do is you pull up the 560 WQAM website and you fickle around with it until you get them synced up. And you get Doug Plagan.
It's so hard to do. It takes me like 10, 20 minutes just to get it.
Yeah, it takes a little while, but once you do it, it's so worth it. Doug Plagans and Bill Lindsay are the best in the game.
They're very good.
That was nice.
I mean, I think overall the ESPN coverage of hockey is not that great, Alex. I think TNT is miles better.
I do like TNT a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that the energy in the last series for both teams was fantastic.
And all in all, I believe every other game is an ESPN thing for the Eastern Conference. All the Western Conference final games are on TNT. So it is what it is. So, all right, let's do a CAT scan, Alex. And I mean, it's his first shutout of the postseason, so I think we got to give it to Sergey. Aside from those last few minutes of the third period, it was a very calm game for Sergey. He didn't have to do much, but when he was asked to do something, he did it damn good. I mean, it was another classic brick wall Bobrovsky kind of game. There's a whole lot to say about it. He looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it was very impressive because we've seen sometimes with Bob, especially in these playoffs, that sometimes when the defense in front of him is playing so good that he never gets tested, he will sometimes give up that soft goal. And that's why his save percentage is in like the high 80s right now, I think. It's either in the high 80s. Can you look up real quick what his save percentage is? Whatever it is, it doesn't look great. But if you actually watch the games like you and I do, you know it's more of a product of weird math where he doesn't face a whole lot of shots. But his problem is that he will sometimes get into trouble where when he does finally get tested, he'll give up a goal or two. What impressed me tonight was it was so boring back there for him probably, and he still shut them down. Whenever the rare times that he had to answer the bell, he was still able to do it.
By the way, the 3 stars were just announced. Carter Verhaeghe gets 3 stars for a goal and assist. Kachuk gets 2 stars for a goal and assist. And, of course, Sergei Bobrovsky, 23 saves and a shutout. So he'll get that first star. Thank you very much. Alrighty then. I want to pull up a comment here relevant to this next discussion. Daniel asks, Cats in 4? Hell no! Listen. The vibes are good right now, but we're not mentally insane to think that's going to happen, or are we? I mean, because it's time to do some. I know it's kind of cheating after a game, but let's make our prediction. Alex, I said Cats in 5 over Tampa. That happened. I said Cats in 6 over Boston, and that happened. So naturally, you would think I'm going to go Cats in 7 over the New York Rangers, right? Well, I'm not doing that. I am saying Cats in 6 again against the New York Rangers. Listen, I know that sounds cheesy because they just won. Right after the Boston series ended, I said to myself, it's going to be Cats in 6 over the New York Rangers, especially because of how bad they looked when they let Carolina get back into that series. I thought there was a lot of exploitable things Florida can do against this New York team for what we saw when Carolina turned it into a series. So I'm sticking by it. I'm Cats in 6. I don't know if Florida's going to win game 2, but still, they did their job. So what say you, Alex? Where's this series going?
I think it's going to be Panthers in 6 as well. I think the Panthers have what it takes. I think the Rangers also have what it takes.
They do.
But I think the Panthers have the edge. I think that tonight instilled a lot of confidence in me, but I'm also curious to see the adjustments that New York makes. I do think that if you are the Panthers, actually, no, I take it back. I was going to say if you are the Panthers, you want to beat them as quickly as possible because you don't want to give New York too many chances to beat you. Florida has a better playoff pedigree over the last 2 or 3 years than the Rangers do.
They do. They said the last time these two teams played in the postseason was in 90. Was it 97 or 96?
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying in general, the Panthers are more battle-tested in their respective series over the last 2 or 3 years than the Rangers have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really,
what happened in New York? Shame on me for not knowing this. What happened in New York last year in the postseason?
They lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round.
Okay, so all right then.
So I say Panthers in 6. It's just the general vibe that I'm getting.
While we're here, let's talk about how we feel about the Western Conference Final, because that's obviously pretty relevant to what's going on now. I gotta say, Alex, I thought Vancouver was taking it in Game 7. I was dead wrong. That was a wild game, but Edmonton came out on top. I'm a little shocked. Dallas, I'm not surprised Dallas is here. I don't think anyone's surprised that Dallas is here. So with that said, who do you think will take that series between Edmonton and the Dallas Stars?
I just think that Dallas plays a very similar style to the Panthers in that they're just very physical. They're very defensive. They're not going to give you a whole lot of chances to score. They're not going to give you a whole lot of chances to get going on offense, and their defense turns into offense.
Yeah.
And so I guess if I have to pick the if I pick the Panthers to win, I kind of have to pick the Stars to win as well. So I'm going to go with the Stars. And should the Panthers be so lucky as to win this series, and the Stars also win this series, I think it would be so fun to watch those two teams play against each other. They're just duplicates of each other at times.
They really are. I'm going to go Dallas as well. It's the boring pick. I feel like Dallas and Florida has been the boring pick of the Stanley Cup playoffs to make it to the finals. But I mean, what can we say? We're a Florida Panthers podcast. Of course, we're going to go with Florida to make it to the finals. But as far as Dallas goes, you're exactly right. They're a gritty, blue-collar kind of team, franchise that's been looking for a Stanley Cup. I mean, all these teams are looking for a Stanley Cup trophy that they haven't had in like 20 to 30 years or so. So I do get similar vibes from Dallas, which would unfortunately make the Stanley Cup final a very down-to-the-wire series and not just, Panthers in 4 or 5, which may be the case if they were to take on a team like Edmonton. I'm just saying. I think Edmonton has a shot against Dallas, but I think Dallas overall is the better team there.
Just from an intangible standpoint, I mean, what a nightmare that back and forth would be between Florida and Edmonton, just in terms
I know.
of
Florida
flying.
Vancouver would have been. Oh my God! Florida.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad Vancouver's out of it. I couldn't imagine those poor media people, because the Panthers get to travel on like a charter flight. I can't imagine cramming onto like a Southwest 737 in row 33, like going to Vancouver back and forth.
Oh my God! We say that Edmonton's not that far away from Vancouver. That would still be a. I guess if you're looking at this from a logistical standpoint, Florida and Dallas is what you want. That's an easy flight out to Dallas. That
super easy flight, just across 2 hours across the Gulf of Mexico.
Like 3 hours at the worst. Of I don't know, you get a whole lot of turbulence. But okay, so the vibes are good for Game 1 as the Panthers get it done, 3-0 over the New York Rangers. Game 1 again. First of all, Game 1 against Edmonton and Dallas is tomorrow at 8:30, which sucks. Why these 8 o'clocks? I get it; it's a national thing. The 7 o'clock. First of all, it's not even an 8 o'clock start. It was like an 8:15 or 8:20, 25 start, which I hate. Then it's so much worse than a 7 o'clock start, which I think we're all in agreement is a much better time to drop the puck. Regardless, they're playing at 8:30, Edmonton and Dallas tomorrow. That's on TNT. And then Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final between the Cats and the Rangers is on Friday also at 8 o'clock. Can they just be honest and straight up say instead of 8 o'clock, 8:25, 8:30? Just be realistic, kind of like.
No, but then you wouldn't tune in, and they need the ad revenue.
And then you wouldn't see PK.
So they need to lie to you.
Yeah, I know. You wouldn't see PK talking about loving the Rangers and all that jazz. Okay. By the way, Sunday Game 3 is a 3 o'clock puck drop, which is a little interesting. Granted, it's Sunday, and there's like a billion other events going on Sunday. You have F1, you have IndyCar, you have NASCAR all on the same day. So if you're an automotive fan like I am, you have a Panthers game thrown at you just like that. So that's going to be weird. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, Alex. But for now, Jeff says it well. The Panthers were awesome tonight. They controlled this game end to end, and they come out of the Garden with a W. So, alrighty, Alex, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode? It's a late episode, 11:36. But again, an 8 o'clock puck drop, that's what we get. But still, any thoughts of what we saw tonight and what we can expect in Game 2?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see what adjustments both offenses make and see what they can do Game 2.
Alrighty. So for Alex and myself, have a great rest of the night. Go watch some hockey tomorrow and, of course, Game 2 on Friday. And let's go home, baby, but let's go to bed as well because it's 11:30.